What if zombies were real? In a world where science blurs the line between life and death, one terrifying question emerges. What if zombies were real? Imagine waking up to a world where the dead no longer rest and humanity becomes the prey. Before we dive into this nightmare scenario, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video because you'll want to remember how the world ended. Now take a deep breath, because what you're about to imagine might not be fiction anymore. Some scientists believe certain brain parasites could already mimic zombie-like behavior in animals, and humans might be next. Let's start with the origin. A mutated virus born from failed bioengineering escapes a secret lab during a global conflict. At first, it only affects a few people, but within weeks, the infection spreads faster than any government can control. The infected lose all higher brain function, but their primal instincts remain. Hunger, aggression, and survival take over as the virus rewires their nervous system. They are no longer human, they are the undead. Imagine cities collapsing under chaos. The world's largest metropolises turn into silent graveyards filled with echoes of footsteps and distant screams. Electric grids fail, governments vanish, and humanity's reign ends within months. In the first weeks, people would hide in supermarkets, basements, and abandoned highways. But soon, food runs out, water becomes poison, and trust disappears. Survival turns into the only religion left on Earth. Military forces would fight back. Helicopters roar through burning skies, dropping bombs on infected zones. Yet every explosion only spreads the virus farther through ash and blood. The global economy collapses. Internet networks fall silent, satellites drift aimlessly above Earth, and human history resets overnight. Money, politics, and fame lose meaning. Survival becomes the only currency. Could anyone survive? Maybe small, isolated communities in mountains or islands could resist infection. But eventually even they would face the question: how long before one bite changes everything? Let's imagine the biology behind it. The zombie virus might be a mutated prion, or a parasitic fungus, similar to Ophiocordyceps, which controls ants in the Amazon. Now imagine that fungus evolving to infect human neurons, controlling your movement even after death. The body decays, but the brainstem remains active. That small part of the brain controls hunger and motor functions, enough to make a corpse walk and hunt. A horrifying half-life begins where death no longer brings peace. Cities would be sealed. Governments might nuke infected regions, declaring dead zones across continents. Skies would glow red from endless fires meant to cleanse the plague. But it's too late. Within a year, 90% of humanity is gone. The remaining 10% live in fortresses, radio towers, and underground bunkers. They broadcast desperate messages. If anyone can hear this, you are not alone. Now imagine the psychological toll. Children who have never seen daylight, parents forced to kill their infected loved ones. The sound of silence becomes the most terrifying noise of all. But what about evolution? Could zombies adapt, becoming faster, stronger, even smarter? If the virus continues mutating, it might eventually reawaken parts of human intelligence, a nightmare with strategy and hunger. At that point, humanity stands no chance. Our species becomes cattle for the undead, harvested for survival. Civilization fades, replaced by a new apex predator, the reanimated dead. Yet, some scientists might not give up. In secret labs, they experiment with hybrid cures using nanotechnology and gene editing. But every test subject eventually turns, proving that death is not something science can truly reverse. Years later, Earth becomes silent again. Nature reclaims abandoned cities, vines wrapping around skyscrapers. The planet breathes freely once more, but not peacefully. Under the moonlight, shadows move among the ruins. They wander endlessly, guided by echoes of their former lives. Humanity's monuments now serve as nesting grounds for the dead. Would you survive in this world? Could you face a loved one turned into a monster? Or would you choose to join them, surrendering to the inevitable? Maybe the real horror isn't the zombies. Maybe it's humanity's arrogance, our belief that death could be conquered. Perhaps the undead are just nature's way of taking balance back. So the next time you hear a strange noise outside, ask yourself, is it the wind or something that used to be human? Because in a world this fragile fiction might only be tomorrow's news. If zombies were real, humanity's greatest strength, intelligence, might also be its downfall. We created weapons, viruses, and gods. But we never learned when to stop playing with death. And if this nightmare ever becomes reality, one question remains. Would you fight to live, or live just to fight? Because in the end, survival might be the only thing that keeps us human. So, are zombies real? Maybe not yet. But sometimes truth doesn't knock. It breaks the door down. Stay alert, stay alive, and keep your humanity intact. Because when the dead rise, it's already too late to prepare. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share before the world goes dark.